Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below, your purchase and pricing question email line for buying this or any watch you see here on Watchbox Reviews or our website. Reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Launched in 2018, this is the latest generation Rolex Oyster Perpetual GMT-Master II, the 126710 BLRO, the Pepsi bezel in Serichrome ceramic with the Jubilee Bracelet and a stainless steel case. This is the Pepsi folks have wanted for a long time. Finally, gratification arrives in the form of a 40mm case that is 12mm thick, 48mm lug-to-lug, and the Jubilee bracelet is relatively short compared to the Oyster, so it only extends the span across lug-to-lug, end-link to end-link. The absolute extremity across the wrist is 49.5mm, so the case itself is 48, link-to-link 49.5. 20mm spacing between the lugs, throw it on the wrist. 16 centimeters in circumference is the size of my wrist. The watch wears easily, comfortably, flush, flat, slipping under a cuff with absolutely no trouble whatsoever. You can see it's not terribly broad across the wrist, so I've seen this watch worn on wrists as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference, so I would recommend for that size as the lower limit. You can really wear this watch well on a small wrist. A feature I like about the Jubilee is now with solid center links, it no longer feels rattly and delicate, meaning you can use it as your sports watch bracelet, and it vents far better than the Oyster, meaning it's solid enough to be a sports watch bracelet, and it vents better than, well, the sports watch bracelet. Let's get a little bit closer and talk about this hardware. Now, the Jubilee was originally equipment optional on the GMT Master from the time the first examples shipped to Pan Am in late 1954. In general, it would have been seen historically on a strap or an Oyster bracelet, but the Jubilee was always an option right up to the dawn of the Super case in 2005, and then it was phased out. The return of the Jubilee in 2018 was a bit of a big deal because traditionally it has been linked to the model. Polished center minor links with larger satin finished shoulder links. You can see that the outer faces are of high polish, and the individual links have screws to fix them in place, so you can size this watch with a jeweler's screwdriver. The clasp features a double locking system. You have this lift lock. You can see the beak and the hook internally, and it clicks shut. To open it, you have to lift it. You can't simply pry it open. So it's a double locking system with a clamshell as well as the lift lock with the beak and the hook. Now internally, you have that easy link system that allows you to gain about 5mm in or out without resorting to tools. And I'm not quite sure if you can see this in the light of my box, but there are 3 divots drilled inside the clasp. So with a strap tool, you can actually change the anchoring point of the bracelet to fine tune the fit. So you have easy link, you have removable links, and then you have the 3 divots for sizing this. Straight through polish, polished flanks, roll into the case. We know the Super case well by now. Sheer sides, squared off ends, satin tops, and polished flanks. You have a trip lock crown in stainless steel. We know that because we have 3 dots and they're all symmetrical. The watch is 100 meters water resistant, but the trip lock is generally seen on the Submariners and the Sea Dwellers. I suspect this watch is actually more than 100 meters, but again, don't press your case. Rolex rates it to 100, but they usually exceed expectations off the record. The timepiece with a bidirectional rotating GMT style bezel. Back in 1954, the idea was that you had coupled 12 and 24-hour hands and they told the same time, just in AM, PM, or standard 12-hour fashion. Well, since 1983, the GMT Master II has allowed you to set the 12 and 24-hour hands independently, but if you set the 24-hour hand to Greenwich Mean Time, you can use the GMT offset of your port or airport of destination to temporarily find 3 time zones using the bezel. The bezel. It features a ceramic insert of Serichrome, as Rolex terms the material. One part has been changed into blue, so you have red and blue with a rather sharp break between them and a little bit of a pastel tone that recalls the bakelite bezel of the original 6542 GMT Master. Now, it is highly scratch resistant, and the numerals and the indices that you see on the bezel, those are actually little deposits of platinum, so they have enduring tarnish resistant visibility inside the ceramic. The ceramic helping to provide a real shield along with the sapphire to protect your watch from scratches. The dial is black lacquer. The hands as well as the indices are white gold. White gold to avoid tarnishing over time, and chromolite blue, which is Rolex's proprietary lume that you'll see later in the video. Now, the watch features the 12 and 24-hour independent time zones as well as a stop seconds function. You can see this being a relatively recent generation of Rolex. Since 2018, we're seeing that little Rolex 5-point coronet down at 6 o'clock. And inside the case, the new Caliber 3285 automatic winding 70-hour power reserve. It uses the new Leica formed Chronergy escapement, which is basically Rolex's answer to Omega's coaxial. Automatic winding with bidirectional action. It features a new rotor bearing instead of the old jeweled staff, which is a cool feature that debuted on the Daytona in 2000 that makes the movement more shock resistant. 31 joules, beating away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It features a full balance bridge and a free sprung index for shock protection, a handmade overcoil hairspring adjusted now in 6 positions. COSC certified Rolex goes one better, regulating the watch fully cased up to -2 + 2 seconds a day or better. Remember, COSC per 24 hours is -4 + 6. Finally, that overcoil hairspring is a blue oxidized niobium zirconium alloy that is highly anti-magnetic, so the watch is shock resistant, water resistant, anti-magnetic. With a 3-day power reserve, this watch is the full package. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com to own the latest GMT Pepsi. Rolex GMT-Master II, note the loomed 24-hour hand.